Good evening, everybody. I apologize for the late start, but with the tornado warning in our area, I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to get here if they were still coming, if they were still hiding in their basements, whatever the case was. I just wanted to give an opportunity to get here. So I just want to welcome everybody to our 2024 sports banquet here for CCA. I want to thank Pastor Allen and Living Word of Plum for hosting us here. It's always hard to find a venue. It's especially hard to find a venue that's for free, but this one is. And so we want to just thank him. If you get a chance on the way out or if you see him, thank him and thank the church for allowing us to have this here. A couple of announcements before we get started with the teams. I want to thank TMR as the athletic director for always organizing the sports and everything that we do all year long. None of this happens unless he wears his 14 hat that he has to wear at school. So I want to thank him for that. I want to thank all those who helped me put this together. It was kind of a last minute. It just didn't work out that the person who was supposed to help me was able to any longer. And so I appreciate everybody who pulled together, who picked up the pastries, who picked up all the stuff that we're going to eat and drink later, people who helped me set up. I want to especially help the 4 volunteers that are going to clean up later, because that's the job nobody really ever wants. So we want to thank you guys for that as well. I want to thank all the parents who attended. I want to thank all the parents who's helped out all year long and supported the school and the athletic association. Couple real quick just detail announcements. So the plan is basically we're going to do 4, 5, 6 girls, 4, 5, 6 boys, middle school boys, girls varsity, boys varsity basketball, and then football. I realize that if you're in 4, 5, 6 girls, you may not want to stay to hear about what the flag football team did, although we did win the championship. So if after you're done or at some point you're tapping out and you have enough, please don't feel obligated to stay. However, do feel obligated to head to the foyer in the back where all the desserts are, where all the snacks are and the beverages. Feel free to help yourself to any and all that you want back there. All that stuff was mostly purchased from Oakmont Bakery, so it's all really good. It's all good quality stuff. So if you're leaving and you've got to cut out early, you want to enjoy yourself back there with your team or some individuals or your family, please help yourself. There's water, there's drinks, and a lot of different snacks and beverages. If you've got to take off, there are also some to-go containers as soon as you walk out the door on the left that you can take some things to go. At the end of the evening, please feel free to take whatever you like, whatever you want, whatever you'll eat. We don't really want a whole lot left over because then we have to do stuff with it. So as you guys leave, feel free to fellowship back there. In fact, I'm going to ask Coach Allison if she could actually close those doors so you guys can sort of fellowship however you want and not have to really be quite as quiet as if the doors were open and we were doing things up here still. I do ask that you not bring any food into the sanctuary. This is a place that we have been given to use. I don't want to make a mess of it by dropping icing or cakes or crumbs or whatever. And not only that, the cleanup people do have to clean up later. So we want to keep sort of all the food and drinks and beverages contained in that foyer area. So if you're eating something, feel free to do it there. Feel free to bring in water during the thing. Water's not a big deal, but as far as food or anything that, like the fruit punch that's back there, please have that back there. Every kid who participated in sports this year will get a shirt like I'm wearing right now. I realize I'm probably not the greatest model to be displaying this. It probably makes you think, wow, that's not really a great deal, thanks. But if you notice on the back, we have everything that we've won this year, every championship that we've taken. And if you notice up here, this is all the championships we've taken. I think a round of applause is in order for that. We're a rinky-dink, hole-in-the-wall school with 150 people enrollment. We won the basketball boys varsity championship. We won the flag football championship. We won, I don't know what's here. We won middle school, won their division. The girls varsity took their division. The boys varsity took their division, and the flag football took their division. So even in this little school with all this small numbers, here's all the success we had and all the accomplishments accomplishments we had. We also won the 10th and under tournament, from what I hear, very easily and quite convincingly. So here's what we have, guys. This is what we're celebrating tonight. We're celebrating everybody's accomplishments. We're celebrating everybody's effort. But I do think it has been a special year for CCA sports. As I said, with the shirt and everything that's on the back, and being an Academy of Champions, TMR and I came up with this idea because not only is it nice to sort of just brag a little bit about what we've done, but it's also good advertisement for the school. That if someone asks you, like, where do you go? You can say, well, this is where I go, and this is what we've done in sports. So it's great advertisement for the school as well. But that's pretty much all I have to get started with. We're going to open up. I'm going to bring Pastor Allen up to give us a little opening prayer, and then we'll start with the teams coming up one by one, and the coaches elaborating on each player.
Hey, good to be with everybody tonight. And I just want to give thanks and praise for our school. My twins, Allison and Andrew, have gone through our school, and it's made a difference in their lives. My son, Aaron, is going through the school now. And I'm just giving thanks for our school, for our principal, for our teachers, and all the hard work they do to help plant the seed of Christ in our kids, and also for our coaches and all the volunteers who take all their time to pour themselves into our kids. So, you know, even for me as a pastor of a church, there's just nothing like just a nice little thank you. And so I just want to encourage you to make sure you're thanking your teachers, your coaches, our principal, and, you know, those who are instructing our kids. Just tell them thank you. Send them a note sometime. Let them know how much you do appreciate what they do. It's really the little things that often give us the most fuel to keep going in what we do, don't you think? Let's bow for prayer. Dear Lord, we just give thanks and praise for your many blessings. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and for the hope that we have in Christ and his work on the cross, and his blood poured out for the forgiveness of our sins. If we would just believe in you and say we're sorry for our sins and take you as Lord and Savior. And Lord, we thank you for Cheswick Christian Academy, and for Lord, this school, and for the teachers and everyone at the school, teachers and coaches who try to be salt and light and pour into our children the heart of Christ, to try to make a difference in their lives. And Lord, we are so thankful for our sports program. All of our kids who are represented here tonight, and those that aren't here, really have so much fun on the teams and competing and playing these sports. And we just thank you for the opportunities that we have had this past year, and for the success that we've had, and that we could use that as a way to be a witness to attract more students to our school. Will you just be with us tonight as we celebrate in Christ's name? And everyone said,
Alan had did a little surprise for us today. So he was in communication with Mrs. Stone, and without my sort of even realizing, they had actually put a video together for the sports this year. So he's going to play that video for a few minutes. We can watch that, and then we'll get started with the teams.
There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need you got. There's honey in the rock. Pray for a miracle, thirsty for the living word. Only you can satisfy. Sweetness at the mercy seat I've tasted. It's not hard to see. Only you can satisfy. There's honey in the rock. 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 Freedom with spirit, body in the wilderness. You will always satisfy.
Thank you, Miss Chelsea. Thank you, Alan. So the first team we're going to bring up in order is Mrs. Stone's 4, 5, 6 girls. So I'm going to bring her up, and I'm going to ask the 4, 5, 6 girls to come up, and let's do 4th graders through 6th graders over here. That would be all you sitting in the back. So here's all their names. This is what they get, and then the smalls, medium, large, double X. Small, medium, large, double X. Yeah, see they're all in row. Is that for me? Darn it. Who's the 6th graders? Tell them they better be ready. You want to use that?
Yeah, I texted you and said I'm gonna need that podium.
I don't look at my phone.
You were literally looking at your phone.
By the way, thanks for sending pictures of my girl varsity team. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just. All right.
Sit down. It's Sal. It's not.
I talk really loud, so I don't.
Keep your shirt on. We're going to be just fine all night.
Angel. Hi guys. Okay, so I remember last year, Josh, this is a shout out for you. Listening to Josh Patterson at the banquet last year, he said something like, we need coaches, we need volunteers. Without adults stepping in, our kids don't have any teams, like we'll take anybody. And I remember thinking like, no, we will not take anybody. Like we need to have some standards here. We need to at least have a coach that knows how to play basketball. So fast forward to a year, and you're listening to a random parent with zero basketball experience about to sort of talk about a semi-successful season. So thanks, Josh. Your low standards got us up here. I learned the rules by yelling at the refs at Johnny's game and hearing that I was wrong, not the ref. And I learned a few strategies from watching Kim Mulkey on YouTube. So I'm going to echo Josh's sentiment from last year. We love our school and our school family, but our girls don't have many opportunities to play sports here. And without people stepping up and giving our daughters their time, our elementary girls will continue to have to seek outside organizations for after-school sports and activities. The more we have to offer, the more we can keep our daughters close. That means the more time we have to love them, to support them, to raise them up in His image. So I'm super proud to say that despite my lack of experience, these girls won 2 of our 6 games and played in a tournament. We had a ton of tears, just as many as we did baskets, and despite some rough moments, these girls really did lift each other up and supported one another, and they absolutely played their heart out, and I'm pretty stoked to be their coach. So 4th graders, Macy is not here. Lily, come on, girl, I'll go to you. So Lily is the reason that I volunteered. She's my daughter. She's been waiting since 1st grade to play basketball. But when it came time to get off the bench, she absolutely refused. So for about 4 games, she refused to play. I had to adopt 2 of Amanda Boston's chinchillas to bribe her off the bench into the court. I have them, they're in my living room. Lily overcame a fear she didn't know that she had this season, and I am insanely proud of her. I love you. You wanna come with me? Miss Katie, girl? All right. So I can't stop shaking. Katie, being the smallest on the court is probably one of the scariest things in the entire world when you're 9 years old. Katie started her season by running off the court for a bathroom break and ended it staring down and intimidating the strongest, most aggressive player at PCA. During our tournament, you could see the game click for Katie, and I will never forget how big she made her tiny body and how well she protected her teammates. I love you. You. All right, Thalia. Thalia was one of the most coachable fourth graders. She didn't hesitate, she wasn't intimidated, she knew her role, she didn't complain ever, and she was a great teammate. She wasted no time jumping in the game, and from the bench, she focused on the game the entire time. She cheered on her teammates, and she had one of the best attitudes of the entire season. All right, 5th grade. There's a lot of you not here. You're lucky, because this would have lasted like 20 minutes. Thank you. Miss Michaela, you stand beside me. Okay, Michaela is the top scoring 5th grader. And literally nothing will wipe the smile off of her face when she's playing. She's tough, she's quick, and she can make quick predictions and judgments. Michaela is also super coachable. She's reliable. If you tell Michaela to go out there and get the ball, she gets the ball. She may get trapped somewhere mid-court, but she has the ball. She's dribbling with a giant smile on her face. She made almost all of the shots she took, and the coolest part about being her coach is that you can see her improve after every single practice. She absorbs it all and puts it to use immediately. Miss Angel. Angel's my girl. Angel does not do anything with less than 110% effort. She doesn't complain, she knows her strengths, and she isn't intimidated by anybody. Believe it or not, this little Angel girl is a force. She's in your face, she's knocking the ball out of your hands, she doesn't ever slow down. She's also a really great teammate. She cheers the team on, and like Thalia, she has such a great attitude no matter the outcome of our games. One of the best things about Angel is that she doesn't care about being the best. She doesn't need to be a star. Everyone is equal to Angel, so it doesn't matter how many points we're down or what team we're playing, she doesn't care. It doesn't affect her. And that means she isn't scared or worried or comparing herself. Angel accepts the role given to her and consistently gives it her all no matter what. All right, Miss Madeline. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this was your first year, right? Okay, so this was Madeline's first time playing basketball ever, and watching her progression was pretty cool. She's determined, she wants to improve, and she's super easy to coach. Madeline doesn't let negativity get in the way of her mission, and that's really difficult for an 11 or 12-year-old, especially in athletics. Madeline has a ton of great qualities that will continue to allow her to excel in any sport that she wants to play, but she's pretty good at basketball, so I hope to see you play next year. All right, Miss Gabby. Almost done, guys. All right, so Gabby had 4 well-earned points this season, and I'm super proud of this girl. Gabby is silly and sweet and often felt a lot of pressure. We played teams with a lot more experienced players, with coaches that knew what they were doing. But my favorite thing about Gabby was seeing her build her confidence every single game. Every single game, she came a bit of a lamb. In every single game, she had to work through those insecurities that she had. By the end of every single game, Gabby was a beast. She was on fire, begging for more game time, supporting the younger girls. I have like a ton of favorite moments this year, but watching Gabby every single game independently fight those battles and come out on top is literally the reason that I choose to be at Cheswick. I can't imagine Gabby giving up on anything that she starts, and I really hope I get to see her play throughout middle school and high school. Alrighty, Sid come here, Sid. Hi. Sid had 6 points this season, and with each game, her skills evolved. Sydney is another player whose positivity is solid. Sydney isn't fazed by much. She's enthusiastic, consistent, resilient, reliable. She's the team player and can read the court really well. I look forward to seeing you improve even further, and I hope you play. Phoebe. All right, Miss Phoebe. Phoebe had 8 points this year and is literally the heart and soul of the team. She was easily the most dedicated and disciplined, and she's the leader. She just doesn't know it yet. I gave the girls homework weekly, like just do random drills. She's the only one who actually did it consistently and didn't make excuses for why she didn't do it. Phoebe is prepared, and she genuinely loved this team, and she loves playing basketball. And Harmony isn't here, but I have to say that she was the top scorer. She had 42 points, and she's just insanely tough and fast and great. So we have to mention her. And that is it.
Applause. You want 2 games?
We did.
Who wants to talk?
Go back to where you still own it. Go sit, go.
Don't worry about it right now.
Chelsea was a great teacher. Overall, I learned a lot this year. I think the whole team is thankful that we had such a great teacher this year. We all learned a bunch, and we love you.
Thank you.
Calm down. You know you want the card.
What?
You know you want the card.
I do want the card. Thanks.
Good. All right. Okay, guys, give them a round of applause. You guys can all have a seat. You were the top scorer.
For 5th grade, yeah.
All right, we will take the 4, 5, 6 boys team. They sound like old men getting up out over there. Guess you're on. We'll do 4th through 6. Yeah, that's the next pile. Yeah.
Well, I think this is me somewhat spontaneously filling in. We weren't sure what was going to happen with coaches here, so I don't necessarily have a thing about each person, but I at least have some things. But before I get to them, I would want to say thanks to all of our coaches. I don't know if people realize that our coaches make a total salary of 0 for doing this. I would go so far as to say coaching costs you money, either in terms of gas or in terms of the volume of young people who are shocked that they need to eat a meal, and even more shocked that eating a meal costs money, and then hit you up for a loan that you probably never see that again. But to coaches who do this for nothing and probably at a loss, we thank our coaches because we couldn't do this without them. I would slightly correct Josh's we'll hire anybody to be a coach theme from Ms. Stone and say basketball knowledge is not the primary interest in what we're looking for in basketball coaches. The primary thing we're interested in doing at a Christian school ministry is having people in touch with our young people who understand how to act and understand the character of Christ and can demonstrate that in gyms. So if you have a maniac person who knows all about basketball, we'd really rather you not apply for the job. If you have a heart to please God and know nothing about basketball but a willingness to learn, I think we could plug you in there. So I'm just throwing that out there. There is an eternity out there that's far more important than basketball season, and hopefully the coaches have been able to minister to kids, most importantly at that level. But this team was Jim Miller and Dan Cunningham did this team and weren't available today. So a couple things that I got just from various sources in case I ended up here. The whole point of this young team is learn, improve, enjoy the game, and have some sort of a foundation to grow on. And from what I can gather from Coach, that happened. He said he saw a lot of improvement this year in the team, improvement in individuals, and it was a year to grow and a year to build on. He says shot of the year was a buzzer beater half-court shot from Johnny. Is that true? You guys agree? Is that like the shot of the year? Buzzer beater half-court shot, that sounds like the shot of the year. Other things that stood out over the course of the year would be Johnny was the top scorer with over 100 points. Elijah, yeah, cheer for that, sure. Elijah next, those two sound like they were the main guys that worked well together and helped the team. Sounds like Mason came out of his shell. Alfie was an aggressive guy. Sebastian with his first basket of his career, other people with first points of the year. We've got Ethan as reliable, Levi with his first points. There's just a variety of just sort of notes here. So I don't know if I got everybody, but if I didn't get everybody, I think the main theme is if you grew and improved, that was the main point of that, and that's where they got. So this is our 4th, 5th, 6th guys. And then I don't know if you guys want to say something to a coach who isn't here, but if you want to say something, you could. But if you don't want to say something, you don't have to because you're saying something to somebody who's not here. Maybe drop them a note and say thanks some other time. Anybody want to talk? Anybody have a favorite memory or a shot or something about a teammate that you'd want to say? Or you're just quiet guys and you want off the stage? Nobody? Memories? Nothing? Well, we'll let you off the hook then. Thanks for playing, guys.
Get. No, middle school boys. Yeah. You guys can have your seat whenever you get your shirts. Thanks, guys. Good job. Okay, we will take the middle school boys next. Coach Josh Patterson and Dan Cunningham.
So number one, just recognize I'm an unauthorized scout. You know, that you can't just take my word for it. As you see, you know, we've got a more clear message. And that is one of the things that I got to see with this team. I've been with this team for quite a few years now. I think since the 8th graders were in 4th grade and I was an assistant on Todd's 4th, 5th, and 6th grade team. After that, I was able to take over the team once Joseph kind of graduated out. So I've been able to stay with the core of this group along the way. It's been exciting to coach throughout all of the different years. You get to really watch kids learn and grow. It's an experience. I played a lot, so I do have some knowledge of what's going on, but I still learn each and every day of like, how do I teach a kid how to actually shoot a basketball, right? You know, some things that you become second nature are things that you have to go back and learn, and there's a lot of resources out there to allow you to do it. So hopefully I've been able to take some of that along the way. I'll kind of do this in different groups. I'll let my 6th graders kind of step forward. We had Elijah, Johnny, and Mason. This was a group that volunteered, despite knowing that we had a ton of 8th graders, which you don't see on the stage right now because a lot of them didn't show up. But these guys came in knowing that they were not going to get a ton of playing time, but they were going to get a lot of practice reps and be able to get experience playing with older guys. And I always find that to be very valuable for anybody that's trying to grow in sports, is playing with people that are better than you. It teaches you to be a hard worker, get after it. One of the positives that we have and a real fear for a coach is, are we going to get everybody a basket throughout the year? We were able to do that this year. All of our guys got a couple real strong opportunities against some of the weaker teams in our conference that we were able to put them out for almost the entire game and get them a lot of reps in that case. So they were all able to do that. They all show different characteristics. Johnny's really a Tasmanian devil out there. Whenever you put him out there, you have to kind of like pull the leash on him to make sure he doesn't go too crazy. Mason is definitely one of the just tougher guys that you'll see on the floor. And Elijah's got a real knack for just kind of being in the right place at the right time. So thank you to these three guys for stepping up and giving us extra players to practice. Next up is our 7th grade crew. It was a pleasure getting to work with both of them. Teddy showed a lot of improvement throughout the season, really came in with just a love for practicing and being around the guys. You could tell not only does he like being at practice, but the guys like him at practice and getting to cheer him on anytime he was in the game. Teddy, I felt like, got our biggest cheers from everybody around both on the bench and in the crowd. I remember working on certain skills with him, like shooting a free throw. All of a sudden, the next game, he's in there, he's making a free throw. It was great to watch. Gavin's got a bright future ahead of him in the game. Played with a ton of 8th graders, so these guys, just like our 6th graders, had a lot of guys in front of them. So their minutes were a little limited this year, but you can see that that's only going to grow, especially next year when they step up in their leadership roles, and I think they'll be able to take those on. So thank you, guys. My lone 2 8th graders, the one is my son, so he came because I was needing to come here for sure. And then Aaron, when we're having it at his dad's church, so that's the level of engagement we got from our 8th grade class. Our 8th graders were actually really good. I won't bore you with details about all of those players, but that's a group that has really grown a lot as a team working together. I think one of the challenges that we had this year was just understanding that it's not always just about basketball, right? And trying to teach some character traits and understanding how to control your emotions and work through games when you're winning, when you're losing, being able to stay kind of level. So that was one of the things we were constantly trying to work through as we have these budding boys going into manhood. So it can be difficult to control, but it's definitely something we worked on and we grew throughout the season. Aaron's always been a leader on the team since I was first with him. You can always tell that he always has a passion for the game. He works hard. You can tell he puts in practice time. And then my baby boy here, Carter, he likes screen time maybe more than practice time, but he definitely puts a lot of work in when he does have the opportunity, and when he's challenged by me to go out and work at things, he does, and he's always been a kid that's improved along the way. So this is our team. We won our conference this year. There's 4 teams per conference, and we were able to win that. We had a disappointing playoff loss, but we grew from it. So bright futures ahead.
Stay up. Somebody got to say something. Man up.
Yes, this was a good year. We had a great coach, and he helped us personally with things that we weren't as good with, and he taught us through it. He helped us, though lose, he helped us not be as bummed out when we did lose, and he helped us not to be as overjoyed when we won. He's a great coach, and he's also a great father to Carter.
I thought my dad did an amazing job this year coaching us. We had a pretty disappointing loss in the playoffs, but he really helped us all play as a team, and yeah, that's it.
He didn't say you were. Give him one more round of applause. You guys can have a seat. Take this. This is your dad's. Take this. All right, next up, I will take my girls varsity team. Y'all can do better than that. Yeah, do grade. Do by grade. What's wrong? Trash, nice. All right. So this time last year, I don't think there's anybody in this building that thought I'd be standing up here doing this again. But TMR approached me at the end of the year and said, what do you think? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then, of course, I begged Miss Willis to come aboard, and it didn't take much. So we still had Coach Amy, who can't be here tonight, and then, of course, Coach Allison, who is a great motivator for everybody. But I'll get into the two of them later. Lots of accomplishments this year, most of which nobody anticipated, nobody expected. When I took the team back, I had a lot of people say, don't expect much, just do your best. Can't get any worse. But here's the thing, I wouldn't accept that. I wouldn't accept that with these girls. There was a lot more in them than what we've seen in the past several years. What they did this year was pretty remarkable. First of all, we took our division without a tie. We did not. We took that trophy without having to share it with anybody, which is amazing compared to like what we were up against. When the playoff teams finally fell in line and we played our playoff games, we ended up falling the third best team in the league, behind Plants and Pillars and Portersville. Yeah, I think that's a round of applause. I mean, these girls had to work very hard to get what they got. They had to work very hard to get what they got. We had 2 All-Stars, which I'll bring up here in a minute, and we had the MVP on our side, which again, they had to work hard for everything they got. These girls came into the season realizing that there's no way they succeed if they want to be treated like girls. They had to approach us like basketball players, and they did. And they had a ton of success. One of the things I did on their T-shirts, which some are mad, but I think in their hearts they're really, really happy about, I put a couple Smurfs on there. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Because if you noticed in the video, Mr. Drake put their pictures with the 4, 5, 6 girls because they're the same size. Okay, and so when they're out on the court, they're all dressed in blue. That's what I had was my Smurfs out there. But here's the thing. When you approach a team and they're bigger than you, they're taller than you, they take you for granted, and then you start hitting crazy shots from the outside, game's over. You get ahead on a team like that, and you can hit shots. And we knew we needed to score from the jump shots from the outside this year in order to win, and we did that. Aubrey, this is her first year playing as a ninth grader. So it was exciting to get to watch her grow. We almost had her first points in the semifinal game. But next year, she's got to play a bigger role because we dropped down to 4 girls in the high school. So she's got to play a much bigger role next year. She's definitely an athlete, and she did a lot of things right. Just a matter of her learning the game and developing into that game. Good chaser, good defender. We have Grace Kostick next. She was our second highest scorer on the team. Great outside shooter, could defend, could pretty much do whatever we needed her to do. As a ninth grader, I'm going to make a prediction because I'm usually not wrong. I think by the time she's a senior, she'll probably be MVP on our side. At least that's one of my goals for her. So she's growing really well, really producing well, doing what we needed her to do this year and step up. Big time scorer, especially whenever they would focus on some of the seniors that like, okay, we need to shut May down. We need to shut Allie down. And then all of a sudden, like, Grace just starts scoring. It's like, okay, what do we do with this little girl? Like, and so it really helped us progress. Abby was our highest ranked rebounder, shot blocker, third scorer on the team. There were times where she was on the court and all the other players on the other team were taller than her. Like, we played Neighborhood Academy the first game of the season, first actual game of the season, and we beat them. And a lot of it's because we didn't give them second shots, and that was Abby's success. She would out-rebound teams that, again, they had 5 people on the court that were taller than her, and she would get up there and she would get it. She had some key shots, great shot blocker, a lot of things that she grew from this year. She was an all-star this year. Grace was an all-star this year. Abby was a first-team all-star this year, which, again, is exciting. That means she's in the top 5 best players on our side of the division, or our side of the league. So that was huge. That was huge watching her grow. Speaking of growth, the person who probably grew the most this year would be Melissa. She's trying to like grin and play it off like that's not true, but that is absolutely true. Melissa probably grew the most. When she first started off this season, I think everybody thought her role was going to be like, well, she's a backup to Abby. Abby needs a couple minutes here and there to breathe, and we would just put Melissa in. Well, 2 things happened. One, we found out Abby really didn't need a couple minutes to breathe. There were games where she stayed in the entire time. That's from all the conditioning, by the way. You're welcome. 2, we found out Melissa's a force on the court. When we would put her in, it was like, okay, we want these 2 girls in there together because they work really well together. They're our 2 tallest girls. They do a lot of things that we need done on the inside in order to be effective on the outside. So Melissa grew really, really well. I would say probably top 3 shots, my favorite shots of the season, was her shot in the semifinal, and anybody who was there knows she's falling down and puts this basket up, and it goes in, and everybody went crazy. Beck and Hayden were on the floor rolling around, almost got technicals, but it was a great shot. Melissa just really grew immensely. I mean, she grew into a basketball player this year, which was really, really cool to watch, and really proud of that. May was, between her and Lauren, our 2 best defenders on the team, hands down, probably top 3 in our division. May, and I'm going to quote this right since the papers did not, May has a motor that doesn't die, not dries. I don't know where they get that from, but she has a motor that doesn't die. May was a person that you put in, and it was like she fought as hard minute 1, or she fought as hard last minute as she did the first minute of the game. She would just go out there. She would defend people twice her size. She was physical. She led in assists this year, which, again, if you have somebody bringing the ball down and you can create the opportunities with shooters, then you can score. She led in assists and had a ton of them. Steals, very physical player, the kind of player I like to coach because, well, that's just the kind of player I like to coach, is somebody who's physical, doesn't mind getting dirty, doesn't mind doing the things that need done sometimes. Huge honor to coach her, coached her sister. Really awesome to be able to coach her senior year. Huge impact on the team. Don't know that we have success. At one point, I think there was a threat that she was going to be gone over playoffs because they were going to Japan, and I thought this could be really bad for us. But thankfully, they didn't go to Japan over the playoffs, and we had May, and that was huge. She was even sick that game. And I kept taking her out as often as I could and putting her back in, but you could just tell she was sick, but you couldn't tell when she was on the court. She just kept fighting. Emily was probably the unsung hero on the team, I would say. She was the one who did things that, like, unless you knew basketball, unless you were a coach, you didn't necessarily always notice. But if you knew basketball and you were a coach, you realize how impactful Emily was on the team. There was a game we wanted to win, and thankfully we didn't have to win to take our division, but we didn't have Emily. I would argue that we would win that game if we had Emily. We only lost by 4. Because she does things that just, it calms the team down. It settles the team. She makes good choices and good decisions. So she was hugely impactful, scored often. Like, she wasn't in the top 5, but she always scored when she was out there. She made good choices. She did things, again, that the other girls didn't do, or you wouldn't always notice unless you knew the game. Emily was huge, and she was extremely helpful in what she did. Allie was our MVP on our division, which is quite exciting. I sat her down beginning of the season and said, "What do you want?" She was like, "Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know." I said, "What do you want?" She's like, "Well, I want MVP." I'm like, "That's all. I wanted to know you wanted it because I want it for you." So we went out there and we did that. She was the top scorer on the team. She fought hard. I mean, she made shots. The moment she made the first three in our semifinal game, I knew the game was over for the rest. It was over for the other team. In fact, we put up 50 points that semifinal game, which that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. So very proud of Allie. She was in most of the games, hardly ever came out. She played hard. She had a very good basketball mind, which helped the other girls. All three of the seniors were excellent leaders, especially the younger ones, some of which weren't here. But some of Allie, one of the best outside shooters I've ever coached. I went back through all my stats just to see in the prior years, and Allie made more threes than any other player that I've ever coached on any other team. So that's pretty impressive. And her three-point shooting percentage was like 48%, which is like, what was it? All right, 41, I'm sorry. 41, which again, if you know anything about basketball, 41% is not too bad. That's pretty good shooting. But yeah, she had the highest percentage and the highest amount of threes of any player I've ever coached. So we needed her to score, and that's what she went out and did. But this team is a team that just worked hard. From the first day, we came in and it was like, look, if you want this hard enough, you can accomplish what you needed to. We took some bruises early on because the schedule. Talked to TMR and said, give me some hard games early on, like hard, brutal games. Because when you play those brutal games, and then you play the games that are your equal or less, those games aren't as hard. And so we did that. We came out against Harvest, held them to 7 points, and then just from there we just pretty much ran the division other than the one game that we lost against Cornerstone. So fantastic. I couldn't be more proud of these girls. I tell them that all the time. They roll their eyes at me, half of it, but I do tell them that, and I mean it. I couldn't be more proud of them. I also couldn't have enjoyed coaching them more. You coach because you're called to coach. You coach maybe because you love the game. You coach because you love the kids. But in this scenario, I can honestly say, like, I truly enjoyed coaching these girls. There was also 2 games that, as you all know, my health has been sort of a train wreck all year. So there was 2 games that I couldn't coach, and Miss Willis stepped up and did it, well, probably better than I could have, and won those 2 games and clinched the divisions for us. The thing that was interesting that week is I was praying for them and just thinking about them all, and I was just asking the Lord, I'm like, Lord, why did you bring me back? Like, why did you bring me back if you knew that my health was going to be a mess this year? Like, why did you do that? It makes really no sense. And then in my fantastic ego, I thought, well, the girls just probably really needed me. And God shared with me, he said, no. I didn't bring you back because they needed you. I brought you back because you needed them. And I realized, like, I needed their spirit, I needed their heart, I needed their fight. I needed that to encourage me through everything I've been through this year. So thank you, parents. It has been an honor. It's been a privilege to be the coach of these girls and this team. They're quite remarkable, every single one of them, and I wouldn't have traded the season. I'm right where I want to be. There's no other place I'd rather be than right here, right now, talking about these girls. Coach Allison was huge. Again, going down the stretch, she was always helpful. Allison was a girl who was like, what do you need done? I'll do it. And she would do anything. Coach Jackie was, again, on the coaching side, my right hand. She was there. She could fill in if I had a bad day or things weren't going well for me. And Coach Amy was Coach Mom. She was the one that kept them safe from big bad coach sometimes. But that was kind of just her job. But yeah, that's the girls varsity team. Give them a round of applause. They deserve every accolade they get. Come on, I want nice things said about us.
Hello, everyone. So this year has been great. I would say I'm pretty sure everybody knows that it was pretty hard for me to balance out being able to play with all these lovely girls while having to work. But, you know, it was hard having to fight with my parents, but I think it was all worth it for these girls and Mr. B. I thank Mrs. B, Jocelyn, Allison, Miss Willis. And I'm just gonna miss these girls. I'm gonna miss this season, but I think it was great, and I thank all the parents for supporting us. And now I'm gonna hand it off.
Okay, so Mr. B already pretty much summed up the role of every coach about Amy being a mom and Miss Willis and Allison. So I just want to thank them collectively, just to make this go by a little quicker. But I especially want to thank Mr. B because he truly is a walking miracle. Like, he should not have been on the sidelines screaming at us about turnover after turnover because I thought he was going to go into cardiac arrest. But he was fine. He made it, clearly. But I just want to thank you for everything you've done, not just coaching-wise, but teaching and like a second father to everyone in this school. And we really appreciate you.
Obviously, we all appreciate you very much. Why are all you guys laughing at me? Like,
She said obviously they appreciate me very much.
Like, we all appreciate you very much because you didn't even have to do any of this. Like, we all know that you've been not in the best condition, your health, for the past few years, and you just went out of your way to do this for all of us, and we all very appreciate that. And I don't think I ever told you this, but I think when I was like maybe 7th, 8th grade, I was terrified of you, like as a coach, not a teacher. And like, cause the things Titi would tell me, she's like, and the other girls, they're all just like, yeah, like his conditioning is so scary. And I was like, I don't want him to coach me. Like, he's gonna be so mean. But then into my senior year, I'm so glad you were the one who coached us. And I really appreciate you and all of you guys over here, so.
Aren't the Smurfs cute? Aren't the Smurfs cute? Aren't they cute? They're so cute. I know. All right, one last round of applause for the girls varsity team. All right, we'll do the boys varsity next. Okay. Boys varsity up next. Come on up. We'll go through the youngest to the oldest. We've got Todd Rosio, Coach Carter. We've got Zach Kozar, and we've got Ben Pollock if they're present.
If there's anybody that also played JV basketball, come on up for that. Any of the JV players that are around. Yeah, let's try to go like 9th through 12th. She's not here, but I'll thank my wife first. If anybody ever sees her, you can let her know I thanked her. It is. There's some definitely trade-offs for coaches in your marriage life. There's just a lot more times during basketball season that I need to say, can you do this for me? And she says yes. Or she says, can I do this for her? And I have to say, like, next Wednesday or things. It's a time crunch, you know. So I thank her for her willingness to do that. I thank my assistant coaches. I don't see Zach here, but Zach did a lot of just sort of dirty work over the course of the year. Coach Carter, are you going to come up? Come on up. Ben is not here, but Ben was a super important guy during the course of the year. I don't know if you remember this, but there was one time you pulled me aside, Coach Carter, and said, you know what the best thing is you've done this year? And I said, what? And you said, bringing Ben in here. I said, okay, well, thanks to Ben, because all I did is say yes. There was a time over the summer, Ben does some open gyms here on this premises, actually. Ben, when I was dropping off Joseph one week, said, could I help you coach? And I said, let me think that over. That'd be great, Ben. So he came in, and he was a big help this year. And Coach Carter's a big help. He moved up a seat this year. Last year, Coach Vargo was here. Coach Carter was one seat down the bench, and he slid up a seat this year to assistant coach number one and had a lot of valuable input. And I thought it was interesting, just the three coaches were so much on the same page over the course of the year of, hey, what do you think? And they'd say what they thought, and I'm like, that's what I thought already too. You know, we were just on the same page together. We had a great year on the boys' side for basketball. So this is a unique team for me in a sense. I've been doing the varsity team since 1994, which is a long, long, long time. This is sort of a different team for me in a sense that this has been, I would say, an 8-year project. When Joseph came into 3rd grade and started to play on the tiny team, I came in with him and started to coach that. Joseph was in 3rd. Sean was in 5th. Brian was on that team in 5th. You were on that team, Josh, I think in 4th. And that was kind of like the beginning of this. And over the course of the years, some people left and some people came. But I've essentially coached the nucleus of this team from the time Joseph was in 3rd to 4th to 5th to 6th to 7th to 8th to 9th to 10th now. So this is like sort of like year 8 for us all together. You had a little bit of time with, like, I think Coach Vargo without me, maybe like 1 year or something. I think you played like some middle school. You played like a little bit of middle school that I didn't coach for like a year. But like largely, like I've been your coach. You came in 8th and you didn't ever have another coach. You had that 1 year with Vargo, right? You know, but largely it's been us guys. You know, it's been like 8 years of basketball together. And I think we saw that pay off this year. Our main competitor this year was a school who got a whole bunch of transfers in this year. And so they had like 2 good returning players, and then they had 3 kids come in from another school, and they basically thought they ran the world. Would be safe to say. Some of you that have followed sports for a while, if you remember LeBron James' press conference, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, like that whole thing. They sort of had this like, well, we put together the super team and we're just gonna beat you guys. But I think what we had under our belt was 8 years worth of playing together. And we ended up winning. And it was a fun year because of the time we've been together for 8 years. It was also a fun team to coach because there's people that can do stuff, which is good. Okay, there's a famous coach's sort of saying, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. It's the players that make teams good. Like, I've had teams that stunk. Those weren't years where I got dumber. It wasn't there. You just sometimes don't have people that can, like, do things. Some years you get people that just don't want to listen. Sometimes other things happen. Sometimes injuries happen, whatever. But this was a group that they wanted to listen. They wanted to play together. They had some talents. And it was just all good. And we largely stayed healthy and were fine and got some breaks along the way. But it was a fun team to coach because there were a lot of pieces to put together in a lot of ways. Our younger guys, I know Coach Ben, I thought one of the best, most wise things he said to them over the course of the year to try to encourage some of the younger guys is, there was a time he said to them, just because you're not playing a lot on this team, it doesn't mean you can't play. And some of them, it was a matter of having to like wait their turn because there's a lot of seniors and there's a lot of guys on this team that can play. A couple highlights of the year, obviously winning a championship is a highlight, but I think the main couple things that drove this team, two-pronged. One, we had 4 guys that can really score the basketball. Okay, so between Sean, Grant, Joseph, Brady, there's 4 people that can really score the basketball. They aren't all going to score every game, but on any individual game, they might score 25, 30, 35, 40 points. Like any of them is capable of doing that on any certain game. There's other people that can find roles around them and do that. And there was not a lot of ego on this team. So if there's a game where Grant scores 35 and Sean scores 10 and we win, we're okay with that. And then the next game, Grant scores 15 and Sean scores 25, we're okay with that. We go to deaf school and Brady goes crazy and drops 30-some points on them. Everybody's happy for Brady. You know, we go play Portersville or Trinity and Joseph goes unconscious and is hitting threes from volleyball lines and scores 30 points. They're like, hey, nice game, Joseph. There was just a lot of parts there. And if you're coaching against this team, it was very difficult to try to figure out, like, what are you even going to do with these people? Don't let Grant shoot. And all of a sudden, Sean's driving the ball. They're like, well, don't let Sean drive the ball. And all of a sudden, Brady's doing something. And they're like, stop. They only have 4 guys. Stop those 4 guys. And then the other guys start getting timely baskets. And Beck gets a hoop, and he hits a 3. And Brian does this. There's just a lot of people found opportunities there. 10th and under is worth a mention too. 10th and under, we completely like devastated everybody. That tournament wasn't even close. It was like mercy rule every game. There's not a doubt in the world that we should still be successful at this level for the next 2 seasons or more. Joseph Brady, without even question, are the 2 best sophomores in this league. And there's not even a discussion or a debate. That's a silly thing to even talk about. I don't know if there's juniors better than them. Maybe that's debatable. We'll find that out next year. But I would take Joseph Brady over any of the juniors that other people are bringing back. And I think we should be very successful next year. But the 10th grade and under thing is not always a precursor to guaranteed wins. I know your 9th grade team won, but the corresponding team, we came in second. You know, this team we did win, but that 10th and under team, we were second. You know, but if you're successful in that 10th and under thing, it usually is a pretty good gauge that you're going to be successful long term. So I think we should be around for a little while. I imagine you guys are thinking about being pretty greedy. But we'll start with some individual guys. So Sam was mainly a JV guy this year for us. One thing I think that stands out with yeah, you just step forward, that's fine. I think Sam's main skill that sticks out is his ability to shoot the ball, and I think that's something he's going to continue to do. I think this team overall, that was probably our most outstanding characteristic as a group, and I think we're going to continue to probably play that same kind of style. When he would get a chance in the varsity games, he'd usually quick pop some shots up there and find his way on the scoreboard pretty quickly when he got in there. That's Sam. One thing about shooting, too, for this team, I think it's worth a mention. We track some things in practice, like just different drills we do and certain numbers and goals that we have. This was the best shooting team we've ever had. All of the shooting records bit the dust this year and then some. Grant's probably the best shooter we've ever had. We've had a running free throw contest. Mr. Vargo introduced a drill. Let's see how many free throws we could make in a row. And I think he started off, you and Mr. Vargo each had like 20-ish. I think that was our original, like, wow, 20. At some point, I got involved and dropped to 49. So we kept the 49 for a while. You had like a 40. Yeah, so my 49 stood past your 46. And then all of a sudden, my 49 this year bit the dust. And you had a 60 at first. I think his 60 took out my 49. I tried to get re-involved. I could never beat his 60. That's still one of my life goals, try to beat you. But what was your last one? What did you hit? 75. So final practice of the year, we all just sort of sat around waiting for Grant to miss. Grant made 75 foul shots in a row. So try that out sometime. That's going to take you a while. That is a lot of foul shots in a row to make. But I think the season, too, in game, I think you made like your first 35. Weren't you like 35 for 35 before you missed? Yeah, so Grant's a shooter, but we'll get to Grant later. Back to 10th graders. So Hayden's next in line, so I'll do Hayden. Hayden has been playing with Joseph and Brady on a bunch of teams, a bunch of years, and he has a game that just fits with theirs, really, I think, super well. Hayden is a really, like, well-rounded player without an ego, and he's willing to do a lot of dirty work. He passes the ball, he sets screens, he gets rebounds, he plays defense, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Sometimes he'll score some points, sometimes he won't score some points. We're happy when we get those points, but that's not always like something we have to rely on him. But sometimes he does. He's become a very good shooter. He's one of our 5 shooters that's breaking all the shooting records in practice. He was usually part of that caravan of Grant, Brady, Joseph, Hayden, and Keith was usually our primary 5 whenever we were doing some record-breaking shooting drills. That was like our main guys. So we're looking for big things for him next year. I think he gets underplayed just because of the team he's on. I said that last year. I thought he had a great freshman year. I thought you had a really good sophomore year again, and I think you're right where you want to be going into junior year with a big opportunity to play a giant role on this team next year. 10th and under, I think we saw that. You know, you picture Hayden plays, it's stuff like the ball's running out of bounds and he's going to run and save it back over his shoulder to somebody and cut to the basket, get it back and shoot a layup. Like, that's a Hayden play. It's just a lot of like just good hustle stuff. Enzo and Caleb are kind of like similar guys, but I'll do Enzo first. They played JV this year. Greatly improving players. They bring us some size, some rebounding. Enzo is probably just, you see him, he can't help but smile. He's already smiling right here. He's trying not to, but he's just a smile on his face everywhere he goes. Playing hoops, he's just having a good time, and we've seen his game just continue to grow. He's been part of this, this 10th and under kind of group since he came to our school. Caleb's a little more recent to the team, but he does a lot of that same stuff. He rebounds for us. He's improving his skills. He came to a ton of practices this year that he didn't need to come to just to work on his game, and I appreciate him. And at some point, when all these people are gone, those are the people that are left, right? So that's like our 6 2 years from now that need to be leading the way with some middle school guys chiming in. Joseph Brady, like I said, they're the 2 best sophomores in this league. I'll go back to Grant just to go back to those 2 in a second. Grant's one of the best players that we've had in our school. He's going to graduate this year. He has 1,488 points he scored. So on our scoring list, he's 4th. So we have Ben, Steve Hollisey, Nate Davis, I believe, and then it's Grant, I think, is our top 4. I don't think, we'll go back over here, I don't think in the long run when you're having Christmas Rockhind dinners, a long way into the future, I do not think he will be the highest scoring Rockhind at that table, okay? I think Brady's going to catch him. I think Brady's going to pass him, and I think Brady's going to have some bragging rights. So Brady as a sophomore is sitting around 500 some points right now. So I would anticipate if you stay healthy and we keep winning games and getting to the playoffs and going to these Ohio tournaments and playing the full schedules, I think there's a pretty good chance that Grant gets caught at some point by Brady. He got completely ripped off this year. He was a 3rd-team All-Star, which was ridiculous. He should have been probably a 2nd-team or better player on that. But you make All-Stars as a sophomore, that's a nice honor, and I think next year people will figure out they undersold him. The 10th and under tournament for that weekend, he was unbelievable. He dominated that tournament. He was the MVP of that tournament. He was absolutely incredible. He rebounds, he blocks shots, he does all sorts of things. But he had a great year, and he's primed next year. If the MVP isn't him, it'll be Joseph. If it's not Joseph, it'll be him. I think they're going to be the 2 best players in our division next year. We'll see how that goes. Joseph is also going to, I think, catch Grant if he stays healthy. He's got close to 700 career points already at the end of a sophomore year. He also got completely ripped off. I thought he was a 2nd-team All-Star and should have been a 1st-team All-Star. If you were at any of the playoff games, I think it was quite evident that he was one of the 5 best players on our side. He was a game-high scorer in the championship game for us, hit a bunch of big threes, just did a ton of good stuff for us. And he was, again, they were like, I talked to them before the 10th and under tournament, and I'm like, okay, guys, we need to, like, play in this thing. Well, don't think like Batman and Robin, but like think who's your favorite superhero, and you were like Spider-Man or something you said. I'm like, we're not like Batman and Robin, we're like Batman and Spider-Man or something. Like we have 2 superheroes for this tournament. You guys need to go out and just devastate people, and that's pretty much what we did. 11th graders, our 11th grader here is Josh. So Josh, I think Josh is one of those guys probably that would be like the Ben advice. Just because you didn't play a lot, it doesn't mean you can't play. You know, and he was a JV leader for us on that team. He got a few varsity minutes here, and I think as we migrate these people off next year, you know, that's our team for next year. You know, and I think Josh is a vital part of our crew for next year. He's a really good defender, really an aggressive player, and a super nice kid. He's going to do whatever you ask him to do. Yeah, go ahead, clap. Seniors, we're heading them out in a good way. So I think last year we were back on the map as a championship-type basketball team. We won our division last year. We fell a little bit short in a playoff game, but I think the seniors drove that team last year and then continued this year. I think the disappointment of last year, losing a little bit, probably fueled you guys this year. Is that safe to say? But we didn't have disappointment this year. Beck was back this year. It was nice to have Beck with us. Beck off the bench was always like athleticism, annoying defense to the other team, full speed, full effort. Just gave us a spark. I imagine he might have started a game or two here or there, but mostly his role was come off the bench and give us some energy, give us some juice. He was a great team guy. If you have any of the videos that you watch and you see like any of the sideline action, he's definitely one of the main like team guys on the sideline, really trying to fire up other people and be supportive. I think Hayden is always a live voice. Sam is always a live voice, with sometimes some accidents occurring with water bottles and chairs and referees yelling at him and some things that happened at different points in the year. What was the Ohio thing? What were they yelling at you about that? For you were clapping during free throws. But Sam, Hayden, Beck, I think that was three of our really like loud on the bench voices. Brian, been around for a while. I think without a doubt the highlight of his year, and I was so happy for him that it happened, was the championship game. He had an opportunity to make a couple of foul shots that really like, yeah, clap for that. Sealed in the game. But he's another dirty work guy. You know, he's like the starter who's not going to score 25 points maybe. But he's going to do what you ask of him. He's going to be in the right place at the right time. And he really did a nice job just being where he needed to be and doing what he needed to do. And if we need a rebound, he'll get a rebound. We need to play some defense, he'll play some defense. I think he's just an underrated player. I thought he should have been an all-star player, and I told him that after the championship game. But if you have to pick between 2 free throws in the championship or an all-star t-shirt, I think we'll take the free throws in the championship. But I thought he should have been recognized as an all-star player as part of a super team. Jake had a challenging year of just availability and things going on with life. Jake's another one. He's a really good shooter. Some of the shooting drills, he really did a good job. He got some opportunities to play during the year on and off, but not a ton. But we were super happy to have him as a senior. Glad to have you on the team. Glad you're a part of all this. Glad you were able to make some trips with us and do some things. He's a skilled guy. He never quite got the right breaks to have everybody see on the main game gym floor stuff that we saw in practice. That he's a defensive player and he's an athlete and he can shoot the ball and he can do some things. But sometimes your role in life and from here-ish down, a lot of these people did that. You show up at practice and you work and you help the starters get better. Sometimes that's your role for a while, and I think he was also part of that. Just show up and help other people improve their games. These last two guys, they're like the heart of our team the last 2 years. They've been our best players the last couple years. Is Grant and Sean. So they both made first-team All-Stars last year. They both made first-team All-Stars this year. I think the two of them had their hearts set on senior year wanting to win a championship, and they got it. Sean's been a great player for us. I think this year he really embraced the role of I'm going to play defense and drive people crazy. And that made a really big difference, I think, on our team and in his game, that he'd be like, just, hey, who's their best guy? Let me guard him. And he drove some people bonkers. The one game, if you remember, I looked at you and you were like, I won't say his name, but it was a game at Penn State. We won by a lot of points against a very good player. And I said, you are in, I like lipped to you. You are in his head right now. And you were like, I got this. He was is not a guy you want guarding you. He's just a very difficult defender to try to score on. And I think that was the part of your game I think improved the most this year. But he rebounded, he scored, he did a lot of things, but a lot of times people don't notice defense. But I knew every game I could just be like, okay, who's their best guy? Okay, Sean, let's go take care of that. And that's just a huge advantage. Grant, I've already said a lot about Grant. Again, I'll say he's a great guy. He loves the Lord. I think he's going to go and honor God with his life and find some things to do with ministry and different things. He's been a great basketball player, one of the best we've had. I'm not going to try to pick. People will ask me that sometimes. Who's your best player you ever coached? Who's your best five? Whatever. It's very difficult to give credit to someone without taking credit away from somebody else. We've had some really good players. How are you going to say, well, he's way better than Breon? Breon's pretty good. So how are you going to rank those? I'm not going to try to rank those. But kids at school will ask me stuff like that too. Who's the best NBA player? And I'm like, okay, Michael Jordan was pretty good, but so was Bill Russell. What are you going to do with that? So if you want to be in the conversation to be a really high-end player, I think you should win a championship, which he did. I think you should win an MVP, which he did. And you should put up some stats, which he did. And so he's one of the better CCA players we've had in terms of basketball player, and he's also a great guy. And I'm not going to sit here and be like he's the greatest guy I've ever coached, because how do you say that without taking something away to somebody else? But he's a great player, and he's a great guy, and I enjoyed coaching you. I'm glad you got your championship. I'm glad you got all the stuff you got. It's been great. And I think I'll say one more, just thank you. Just people who helped, anybody who ran scoreboards, drove the games, worked concession stands. It takes a team to do stuff, but it takes a team to even have a team. If you don't have transportation to games, you don't have much of a team. If you don't have anyone on the scoreboard, it's kind of hard to do anything. But for anybody who chipped in any way, I would say thank you. And that's, I think, it for me. Do you want to say anything, Coach? No? You're like to be the silent partner?
No, I think I did all my speaking during the season.
Okay, that's fine. Players, somebody's going, I guess. Making you do it.
See, I always got to check because I don't want to be too deep. All right. I just want to say, thank you for the coaches. You did a great job this year in all the years I've been here. Also, I really enjoyed having Ben, but he's not able to make it tonight. But, yeah, I just thought we had a great year with, our main core, and then we had a great bench as well. I liked having Beck and some of these other guys pitching, and they were great for us all year. So it was just great of the accomplishments we had this year.
All right, give him one round of applause. If you're on the flag football team, stay up. If you weren't, you can have a seat, and I'll bring up the rest of the Cheswick Charger flag football team. Just fill in, gentlemen. Did Aaron leave? Yeah. Gavin, you're on the end because you're in 7th grade. Good. All right. Luch, come on. You're part of this. I don't know what you're doing. You're like it's like teaching the kids. Get up here. Come on. And I don't see Zach or your dad, right? Okay. So I'll start off by saying a couple words about this team. We made it to the championship 4 years in a row. This was our 4th year in a row making it to the championship. We're the first Cheswick team to ever have gone back-to-back to win the championship. So we won it last year and we won it this year. Yeah, that's a good round of applause. Last year the game was challenging. It came down to a 1st and goal on the 3 with no time because of a terrible call. And we were only up by, I think, 7. This year, it wasn't very challenging. This year, it was 25-0. That was sort of the score. We just ran away with it. But all season long, we lost the first game by 1 point, and then we never lost the game the rest of the season. We just sort of ran with it really well. The challenge was, and I told these guys, you're going to win the championship if you really believe. We had the talent, we had the availability, we had everything leaning in our favor. It was just a matter of us putting it together and making sure we grab flags on defense. The There should actually be 3 other trophies up here that I forgot to bring in or mention. We mentioned Allie's MVP. We mentioned Grant's MVP. We also got the MVP of the league on this team for football. So again, 3 sports, 3 MVPs. That's a huge accomplishment for us. But as far as this team goes, it was 4. There it is. We have 4 MVPs and all that. So it's pretty amazing again for the school. Tony Luch, this is his first year coaching. We expect a lot more from him in the coming years. What I mean by that is many more years. You've got Santina. I mean, I got like 8 more years with you, so you're good. But a huge asset. Learning the game was really helpful this year. Did a lot of the stuff that when you're the head coach or the offensive coordinator like Mr. Willis, you just don't have time to do certain things, or just helpful to have that 3rd and 4th hand. He was huge. Mr. Willis, we brought out of retirement through begging and his wife kicking him out of the house. Those kinds of things. He was big. We needed an offensive coordinator. I can do offense. I don't like to do offense. So he stepped up and came back out of retirement and did it, and did a fantastic job. Now, if you ask a few of them, they could have got a couple more touchdowns because they're all greedy. But we averaged like 30-some points a game scoring. So he did a fantastic job. Zach was always instrumental as well, just helpful in doing everything he did. So I'll start over here with our young guys. I think we had 8 JV games this year, which is big for football. We usually have like 2. So this year we were able to get these guys a lot of playing time. Gavin came out, and Gavin grew by the end of the season. Gavin is going to be a fantastic football player. He is going to be a fantastic athlete. You just see these little glimpses of him at the level he's at where you're just like, yeah, by the time he's in 10th grade, he's going to be a monster. Played a lot of different positions on JV. One of the things I loved about my 7th graders this year was all the conditioning and everything we did, they didn't stop. They didn't complain. They kept pace. They did everything they needed to do, which was big. So Gavin was huge. Gavin in the JV games, I expect a lot more from him in the future. Carter is going to be a great receiver. He played some corner for us also in practices. Kind of gave some of the receivers some difficulty, which was good. That's what you wanted, to challenge them. And Carter was able to do that. We're going to rely on him a lot more in the future as a defensive back and then also as a receiver. Q had an injury early on, so it kind of took him out of the game. But he was part of the team. He came to most of the games, supported us. He was there during the championship game, got a medal like everybody else, because just an injury doesn't mean you're not part of the team. But Q's athletic. We've seen him do some things that he's capable of doing. We're hoping in the future we see a lot more from him. Hayden was huge this year. Last couple years he started, but not on the level that he did this year. Both offensive and defensively, he was big. I feel like he was robbed of an all-star, just like his brother was robbed of an all-star, just like May was robbed as an all-star. I think he was robbed as an all-star too. He got sacks when we needed him to get sacked. He got put pressure on the quarterback. He guarded tight ends going out. Hayden also on offense. He was like the guy that was like, okay, we need 3 yards, or we're trapped at the end zone. Brady would come over. What do we want to do? Get the ball to Hayden. Just throw it out to Hayden. And every time it worked like clockwork. They wouldn't guard him, or they would guard him, and then we would get the ball to him. He had some great touchdowns where he had, some 30, 40-yard touchdowns where we get it to him close, and he would just take off. Next year, he's going to play a bigger role, probably on offense than he even did. He won't be playing line. We're probably going to move him more to a running back position and sort of fill that role in that gap. And then defense, we'll see. But I have much bigger plans for Hayden than he's even accomplished so far this year. He told me after I told him, I'm sorry you didn't get All-Star, he said, don't worry, I'm going to be it next 2 years. And then he took his shirt off. You know, I had to bring that up, right? Luch has just got the best attitude you could ask for any player. Hustles, he runs. I tell him, go run this. They run it. He runs it. He does what he needs to do. We're hoping to work on his footwork to become a lineman next year, or at least in the very near future. We're hoping to get him working on the line a little bit more, get him more involved, and even try out for some center. So we've got some things we're putting on him, and hopefully we'll see that here in the near future. Caleb was the guy, and I have very high expectations for Caleb. Caleb didn't play as much as the starters, but Caleb played a lot, and every time he was in that game, he was instrumental and effective. It was like every time you put Caleb in, you knew Caleb was in the game. He had a sack. He did something that, like, you noticed that he did. He'd stop the run. He would deflect the ball. He would do something. So in the next 2 years, Caleb's going to have a huge role on both the offense line and probably the defensive line. He's also probably, he's so much more athletic than you would think just because he's quiet and he just sort of does his own thing. But he was very essential in a lot of times when our linemen got hurt. Brady was our quarterback. I'm just looking because I want to make a statement and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Brady was the best quarterback I've ever coached. Yeah, I mean, he had 42 touchdowns he threw this year, not to mention conversions. He was just, we've known it since he was in like 8th grade that he was going to be the starting quarterback at some time. And this year was the year. It was like, okay, Brady, this is your year. This is the time to step it up. By the end of the year, he'd come over to me or Mr. Willis and we would be like, well, what do you want? He's like, I'm thinking this. And I'm like, well, go call it. It's your offense. And he'd go out and he'd call it. In fact, in the last JV game, I think you called all the offense, didn't you? Yeah, for the JV team. So he was huge. His numbers are off the chart. He threw for 42 touchdowns, 18 conversions, and I think only 5 or 6 interceptions all game. And then his throwing percentage was I want to say it was in the high 60s, low 70s, his completion percentage. That's you can't ask for that better than that for a quarterback. I mean, he just stepped up and it was like, this is me, this is my role, and this is what I'm going to do. And we wouldn't have had the offense without him this year. He definitely would not have had the offense we had without him. Joseph was the fill-in guy. He started on defense. On offense, he was the guy that if somebody got injured, it was like, all right, Joe, go play the X, go play the Y, go play the Z, whatever you got to do. He knew most every position on offense. Defense, he started at linebacker, did really well. Huge key play from Joseph was, you guys remember the Allison Park game when we played them there? And they were up by 1 touchdown and they were driving again. And they threw this ball to this tall ginger in the corner. Why I said he's a ginger, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But you can't miss him. And Joseph goes up and grabs his ball and brings it down in the end zone. And right then, we got the ball on a 20 and marched down and scored the winning touchdown. If they score there, we lose 2 games in that season, and we don't have the plaque of taking the #1 rank in our division. Huge play by Joseph. I mean, that was like, I would say it was definitely a game changer, really probably a season changer. Otherwise, we probably don't have that plaque. So huge things from him next year. Going to start as a receiver. We're going to probably move his position on defense too, but a lot of stuff we anticipate from him next year. Beck has been like growing and progressing every year he's played. So this year he switched to linebacker. Wait, you were linebacker last year? Yeah, linebacker last year. We switched you to running back this year. And why? Well, because Beck is fast and Beck is athletic. And so he led us in sacks this year. He led us in tackles this year. He was just, again, that Allison Park game that really mattered. There was a point where all I did was rush Beck. That's all I did was rush Beck. And he put so much pressure on the quarterback that he couldn't get the ball off. Eventually he threw an interception to Grant. But Beck was huge. I mean, and just to see his humble progression from playing line to playing linebacker to playing offensive line to playing running back, quite instrumental in that trophy right there. Huge. And there were some games where he just disrupted so much in the back because so much is revolved around our linebackers defensively that he did exactly what he needed to do. Brian was big. Brian was the guy that you put at corner and you just were like, okay, like we're fine. You don't need to like worry. You don't need to be like, okay, Brian, you need to do this or you need to do that. Like he knew where he needed to be every single time. He knew what he needed to do every single time. He would guard receivers. He would guard linemen. He would get flags. Brian also leads the record in the team, probably ever, for the most charges he's taken in flag football. He's been run over by more guys than anybody I've ever coached in my career. But he takes it every single time and gets knocked over and then gets back up, especially whenever Tara runs on the field. And Jake was huge down the stretch. So if you know anything about coaching, one of the things you want to do going into playoffs is just change one or two things up just to keep the team guessing, the other team's guessing. So one of the things we did was we switched and put Jake at corner and moved Sean to linebacker. First game really didn't matter because the team was not very good and we won, 60-12 or something like that. The next game, Jake has two huge interceptions. One Beck deflection and the other one, I don't know if you moved. He just sort of threw you the ball. But still, huge. Guarded guys, played excellent job at corner. He and Brian could have filled in and been receivers had we needed. But he was big. He was huge down the stretch, especially in that championship game. 2 interceptions in a championship game. There's Super Bowl MVPs who have 2 interceptions in a championship game. Grant, another big player. He has been playing safety for us since he's come on board. I think he was second in interceptions this year. Is that right? Or first? First in interceptions this year, yeah. Second in touchdowns. He caught second in receptions. Of course, his brother's throwing to him. That helps. I would say Grant was probably the major leader on this team. If you know Grant's pretty chill. Grant's pretty cool underneath everything. Until you play Harvest in the championship game and we're up by 25 points and we don't want to let them score. There was points where it was like, there's 2 minutes left. If they score this touchdown, it's not going to matter. They're not going to score 4 in a minute and 49. But Grant's like, this is pride. We're not letting these people score. And it was just like, okay. And we blitzed and blitzed and blitzed. In that championship game, they had 3 shots in the red zone, and we didn't give them anything, did not let them score once. And Grant was really instrumental in that. Wonderful guy to coach, wonderful guy, athlete, just reliable, just led the team. He was very vocal, very verbal that last championship game, and I appreciated that, especially those last couple drives. You wanted to beat Harvest. Because we had lost to them a few times before, and then they lost to them in the basketball championship, and I'm like, you never want to feel this way again. You never want to feel this way again. And we went in and did what we needed to do. Sean was our MVP and league MVP, played exceptional all year. Let's give him a round of applause. 3 years ago, he was cheated from MVP. 2 years ago, he lost respectively to someone else. It could have gone either way. This year, he definitively won. I didn't even have to cheat as the commissioner of the league to get it for you. You won respectively, which was really big. Sean, it was probably the best football player I've maybe ever coached. He could do it all. He could run, catch, play linebacker, play corner, whatever we needed him to do, he did. Exceptional athlete. I don't know what else you say about a person who won MVP. Led us in touchdowns, receptions, just an exceptional player. They always had their best guy on him or double teamed him, which again left everybody else available to us because we had so many weapons. You can't guard all these guys, especially if Brady's the quarterback. You just can't. Brady worked on his long ball, got great at it, but the way that these receivers worked with him, the short ball was their bread and butter. It was just like they would just hit those slots, and he'd hit that laser to them, and they would get it, and just Sean was instrumental. We kept him short because if Sean caught the ball and got his feet under him, no one was catching him. And that was, he burned Harvest twice in a championship game in that case. And then, of course, last but not least is Rev. Rev is probably, when I say dirtiest, I don't mean like bad player. I mean like he's usually the filthiest when he comes off the field. He's muddy, he's dirty, his uniform's usually ripped, and he's not even carrying the ball. He doesn't even touch the ball. It's because he just hustles so hard on offense. He's been our center for 5 years? 4? 4 years. It's going to be very hard to replace Rev at the center. It just is. He does it so well. You just sort of trust that he's going to do what's needed. And like in our league, there's a lot of bad centers that we like because it gives us the ball, it gives them the ball further back. Rev never has those bad snaps. He does the job really well on defense. Always in the top 3 of sacks every single season. This year was no different. He was just a beast. I remember after the championship game, their one coach of Harvest came up to me and said, Rev, what number are you? 4? Yeah, he said, you're number 4. He said, I'm glad he's a senior. He's like, because I'm tired of seeing him go at my guys. He's just such a good rusher. And I think that's all that really needs to be said. But yeah, just a fantastic player. Again, this team is exceptional. We stepped on the conditioning field back in August, and they love conditioning so much. The 10 and 60s especially, they were just so thrilled about those. But we knew when we stepped on that field, like, if we lost that, there was something wrong. But there was nothing wrong because we won it. Allison Park was a huge challenge to us, but again, somehow they lost the Harvest, and we went in and we were able to beat Harvest in the championship. And that's always a good feeling to beat Harvest in anything, especially the championship. 2 other thank yous I want to make. I figured I would wait till the end instead of thanking them twice. Is my wife. My wife was a football and basketball widow for 2 seasons. Yeah, you can applaud her because she does deserve it. So she was supported me and the team through all of this, was very helpful. And, you know, I can't thank her enough. And I know the girls and guys are always appreciative. And then my daughter too, Jocelyn. If you watched any of the video, yeah, go ahead and give her a round of applause. If you watched any of the videos online for the girls varsity or boys varsity, that's because she did it. She did all the filming. She uploaded everything. She helped me. She was at every game throughout both seasons. So I wanted to thank her. A lot of the games too, when we had good games, she'd be getting texts like an hour later. Is the video uploaded? When's it coming on? When's the video getting uploaded? So it's very important what she did because that helps with stats. So again, the boys varsity football team, champions, that's pretty much, I mean, at the end of the day, all you can really say. So that's it for me. Luce, do you want to say anything?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. B. It's funny how you end up in situations like this whenever you ask me, hey, do you want to help out coaching? Like, A, I don't know anything about flag football, and 2, I never coached, kids, young men before. And he's like, well, do you have a pulse? So that's the standard, right? So that's how I ended up here, and I wanted to learn more and more about flag football. So if you look at my YouTube history, it's flag football, lifting videos, and how to cook food. Those are the the 3 things there. And
what else you need in life?
And I look forward to next year, and I'll never forget any of y'all. So thank you very much for the opportunity and putting up with me.
All right. Sean told me to go first. So thank you to the coaches. It's Coach Luch, Coach B, also Zach, and Coach Willis. It was a good, I don't know. I skipped a year of football the one time. I think I played 7th, skipped 8th. But it was good playing with the brothers. Also, again, thank you to Jocelyn for the videos. It was good just watching the stuff in the one room. It was fun. Got pizza, ice cream sometimes. Brady, that's my quarterback. It used to be Gio. Brady's better. We'll leave it at that. Grant, good guy. Sean's my brother. Beck was online. Hayden's online. He was online. Hayden's online now. No, I'm not gonna talk about the whole team. I'll just, you know what, Brian, you're a good dude too.
I'm gonna be up here for late. My fault. I'm not gonna be for long. Thank you, Hattie, for a while. You pushed a few of us, like me, Brian, Evan. Oh, you calling my name?
He's telling you to raise the mic.
Oh, my bad. And yeah, no, that's really y'all. I ain't gonna lie, unless y'all wanted to say something.
I'm gonna keep it brief. Mr. B, you made me fall in love with the game, and I'll always be thankful for that. Thank you.
All right, last round of applause for the boys flag football team. You guys can have a seat. And I'm going to bring up Richard Rockhind, who's going to close us in prayer. While he's coming up, there are plenty of desserts left back there. Please feel free to eat all you want. There are boxes. Please take home all you want. We bought a ton of stuff from Oakmont Bakery, really great baked goods, so please help yourself on your way out.
Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is Jesus loves you. The bad news is I think all the other kids on the teams ate the food, so I do apologize. Amen? All right. So thank you to the principal. Thank you to all the coaches. As Brother B mentioned, that's a lot of work and sacrifice. Somebody, are you with me? My family was, my family was driving everywhere and eating dinner at Sheets and doing homework in the car. So it's a big sacrifice. So thank you to the principal. Thank you to Cheswick Christian Academy. Thank you to all the coaches. But I also wanted to mention, I really want to give a shout out to this guy. And in fact, I think he was a great model for the shirt. Can I get an amen? I thought he did I thought he killed it. But I think about all that he does, and in fact, I just added something else to the list. You're also the commissioner of something. So, but look at, he's a father and a dad, a husband. He's a teacher. He's a coach. He's a custodian, I heard, at the school. He teaches the basketball and the football, and he's got some health challenges. When I first came to the school 3 years ago, he had a fan club, which he still has. He had people all around him. When I first met him and Brandy, I said, who is that guy? Well, we see who he is. He's a servant. He's a witness. He's an example. He loves Jesus and he loves people. Come on, are you with me? So I leave you with this, John 3:16. Would you say it with me? For God so loved the world that he gave or sent his only begotten Son. Come on, that whoever believes in him shall not die or perish, but have everlasting life. I learned a long time ago, God loved you so much, he said, I'll leave my place, I'll come to your place, I'll take your place, and we could go to my place. I encourage you this summer to love the Lord, to trust in Jesus. I encourage you to give him your struggles, your battles, your insecurities, your worries. I encourage you this summer to enjoy your family, to serve the Lord, make a difference, and be an example of Christ, and be a farmer planting seeds. Come on, would you stand with me? We're going to pray. Come on, put your hands up. Father, thank you that we're on your team. Thank you that as we have an opponent, thank you as we battle and struggle, and some days are better than others, and sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. That's part of life. But we know that as long as we know you, we're on the winning team. By faith, we can have peace and eternal life. Bless every family, bless every person, every struggle, every battle, every bit of discouragement, whatever we're going through, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. In the next few weeks there'll be some graduations going on and things are going to change, but Father, we thank you that you never change. We love you, we adore you. Without you, we're nothing. Without you, we can do nothing. Bless the fellowship, bless the snacks, bless all that we do and say, bless our conversation, and to God be the glory in Jesus' name. Come on, give the Lord a hand. Can we give God a hand this evening? Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the desserts. Have a great weekend.
There's honey in the rock. stone.